Welcome back to
No, but seriously, the podcast where we keep it honest, keep it real, but not too serious.
I'm Jamaica.
And I'm Anna.
So this is part 2 of our situationships. And in part 1, we left off with me talking to my situationship / friend about dating.
Would you say it's more of a situationship at that point versus a friend?
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a friend anymore.
I don't know if he really ever was a friend.
That's something we can dissect. We can dissect that later.
That's the real tea. Because he never really was a friend.
And that sucks though. Like that,
yeah.
You know.
I was a friend. He
right.
wasn't. Yeah.
And then it sucks when it's not like reciprocated, you know. And you're putting yourself out there, even as a friend, you know, and not getting any effort back. Like that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we would both label it as a friendship. He would, I would, but like his idea of being a friend is not. I don't even know what it is, but based on his actions, it wasn't good. Yeah.
I don't even think he knows what.
Yeah, how to be a good friend to somebody. Yeah, he doesn't.
But aside from all of that.
Yeah, aside from all that, I did tell him that I think that we should start dating. And we had this, I mean, it wasn't a long conversation, but it was long enough that I like explained myself. And then he didn't really have nothing to say. So I just kind of left it at that. I wasn't gonna like, at that point I felt like I can't really reach out to you no more. Like I just told you I go on a date and like you have no response. Like and you can't just pick up from here. Like, and
the no response is also a response, you know?
Yeah, it felt like a no, because you didn't have nothing to say, and maybe he didn't know what to say in that moment. But so I didn't reach out because I didn't have nothing else to say. Like I said everything I had to say. At that point, like that was the direction that I was gonna go. But I also knew that there was this other guy who was pursuing me, and I was kind of pursuing too. And so I was like, well, once I get in a relationship, then that cut off for real,
right?
You know, because at that point we had been having sex, like, there's no way I'm gonna keep a relationship with you and be in a relationship with somebody
else.
Yeah, and so, maybe like a week or so later, he did reach out or say something like, you didn't talk to me, or like, you ain't been reaching out or something like that. And I'm like, I said everything I had to say, like, and you didn't have no response to that. So we're not going to gloss over that.
Right.
You know? Right. And I feel like that had happened before. Like we would have serious conversations and then he would just try and gloss over like what the conversation was. And then they just never dealt with. And I think that was honestly the extent of our relationship. Like either I would have a problem or like we would have a problem, and then not that we would forget about it, but we would just move on from it, but the problems never resolved. And so
like you never got to the root of it.
Yeah. So, you know, now looking back on it, that I think that's what was happening. So anyways, he didn't say nothing, so he said no.
And that's tough because I had a similar situation where I had told my situationship the same thing, like, hey, like either we're gonna move forward or like this is going to end. And same thing, kind of went around it, didn't really say anything, and I was like, okay, cool, then this is it, right? And I think that's even harder to do, Like, put your feelings out there and say, hey, I like you, I want to do this. And then for them to say no or to not give you a response. And then you're like, okay, then what do we do after?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I just got to the point where I was like, okay, we're going to stop playing this fence. Like, we going to get on one side or the other. And I think that that's what made me, like want to like have that conversation. Because I'm like, I'm okay with either side, but like we need to pick one.
Yeah, we need to decide already.
Yeah, because it felt like we were just teetering on a line for the longest time. And then having sex just made it, I don't know if it made it worse, but it just added another layer.
I mean, having sex, this is a huge thing. Like, you know, like I know we had jokingly talked about in the first episode of like, oh yeah, like we can get anybody we want, you know? But it's such an intimate thing though when you think about it, like not just physically, you know, but emotionally it's so intimate too. So
and honestly, for me, I think that for the longest time, I think up until that point that I was having sex with him, I think that I was like using sex and like sexuality as a way to not get close to somebody. And so it changed with him because we were already close. So like that just changed the game. And so I think that, you know, like what we were talking about in part 1 about like, you know, my my era
adventures.
Yeah, it was because I didn't want to get attached to nobody.
Right.
So, you know, so I definitely used it for that. And then it just kind of changed the game with him because of the difficult relationship that we had. So then I ended up pursuing the other guy who was also pursuing me. Like there were two guys. I wanted to pursue them both.
Yeah, see where it went.
Yeah. And so he told me nothing. I kept pushing and like, you know, I got closer and closer with the other guy. And then we ended up being in a relationship. So, you know, all ties with my situationship was
done.
Yeah, was done. And it was that way for close to a year. You know, because I was in a relationship, and then we started having problems in our relationship, like big problems. And I will be honest that as much as I thought I was ready for a relationship, I wasn't. You know, like not a healthy one. You know, because before this relationship, the last relationship I had been in was the ex who was like threatening to kill himself all the time, you know? And so, I thought I was ready, for a relationship, but I think that this relationship has like highlighted like all the things I need to heal from or keep healing from. And like all the work that I need to do, because I can be pretty toxic. And my, I contributed to our problems as much as he did. So, we started to have, more issues, and I was kind of like checking out of the relationship.
And during this year, you weren't talking to the other person?
No. Yeah, that was done. Because I was like standing on, like I said what I had to say. I'm in a relationship now. Like I'm going to respect that. And I don't think I had heard from him. I mean, he would text me, I think maybe like once in a blue moon, but I just wouldn't respond. And then, around my birthday, he had reached out to me and was like, hey, your birthday's coming up. Like, are you doing anything? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, we were going to brunch. And so.
That was a lit brunch, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I was like, sure, why not? I like, you reached out to like celebrate my birthday. There will be other people around. Like,
It's not on one-on-one.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, fine. And so I told him where we were going. And then he came.
Which I think we didn't think.
No, I didn't think he would come.
Right.
Yeah, because he's been inconsistent before. Like he'll say, "Hey, I want to come," blah blah blah, and then don't come. So yeah, I didn't think he would come. But he ended up coming. And do you remember?
That day was a lot, bro. I remember a lot. I remember, well, one, the dude
service.
that you were, well, right.
Yeah.
But first, I remember the one that you were dating took us, no?
Yeah.
He took us.
He took us to the brunch. Yeah.
And then we get there, and initially it's just you and me. Mm-hmm. And then your friend shows up with 2 other people, and then it's all of us. And service was bad. Like, we weren't getting what we thought we were going to get.
Yeah.
And then I think...
He came real late, didn't he?
Yeah, so because we didn't get our food, and then... What was it? I think it took like almost 2 hours for us to get our food. Because I think the kitchen, like there was only one chef or something. Right. Like in the middle of like I quit or something. Like the server, like she was, great and like explaining everything to us. And then she was telling us like, you guys can go get food and like come here and eat it. Because that's how like backed up they were.
We were there for the brunch. I mean, for the mimosas and stuff.
Right. So. And then somebody gave us like a bottle.
Oh, yeah.
For her birthday. And then when we finally ate and stuff. So this, like, we were there for at least 3-4 hours already. He finally shows up.
Yeah. I forgot that he came so late.
Yeah. Because I think your friends had left. Or they were going to.
They were about to leave. Yeah. And then he showed up. And then it was us 3 there.
Yes.
And then
there were shots. So we were already drinking mimosas, and then shots came in or something.
Yeah. And then, but then the conversation came up about me talking to him about dating me.
Yes, as I'm sitting on the table with y'all.
I was so glad you were there because I'm like, he used to make me feel so crazy. Like we didn't have conversations that I know we had. He like used to like play, I don't know, like he had amnesia or something. And so, he was trying to say that he gave me a response, but he really didn't give me no response.
But he's the type of guy that will talk for 20 minutes, but like he won't understand the point of the conversation
at all. And I just be like, get to the point, like, because he is not always like that. So I'm like, why do you turn that on? Like, I think it's a nervous thing or something. Maybe. I don't know, or I don't know what it is, but like, there's been times where he talks perfectly fine. I can get what he was saying, And so, like, I did see a different part of him than, like, everybody else did. Because I used to, like, call him out on it. Like, why you, like, it was like he would do too much. And so, that happened. And then I don't think I really saw him after.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Then we, because then I was still dealing with my, relationship. And then maybe like a month after my birthday, maybe not even a month, but we just gonna say a month after my birthday, I had broken up with.
It was that quick? I thought it was like the end of the
summer. It was like the beginning of the summer, like June. Yeah. So in June, at this point, me and the person I was dating lived together. We skipped that part.
Oh, we skipped that whole thing.
Yeah, we had moved in together. And then June, I had broken up with him. But we were still living together. And so that was a lot. A lot to deal with. Because I still cared, and like a huge part of me wants it to work. But like we just had serious issues to work through, both of us. And so I did start going to therapy again, because I'm like, I gotta
Get this off your
get
chest.
myself together. Yeah. So I started going to therapy again. I started doing Bible study. I had like joined a church. I had gotten baptized again. Like I had started like really putting work into myself. Cause I'm like, that relationship was so bad. Like I was doing stuff that I had never done that I don't ever want to be doing. And so I was like, I gotta like do some work on myself. And so I did, start doing all of those things for several months. And then, I think it was around like November, December, like, you know, I started to feel like, okay, the pressure of the relationship is not there anymore. Like we are living together. Okay. Like I still do enjoy him. Like he is a friend to me, you know. What I thought was a friend, he wasn't, and he really is a friend to me. And so like I felt like my heart got softer, and maybe it was because of all the work I had done. You know, like starting therapy again, and you know, building my relationship with God, and and all of that. And so I had talked to him about like, you know, I wouldn't mind like us working
Towards
towards getting back together again, you know, like working on what we need to do to like see if we can be together again. And that's been
a journey.
Yes. That's been hard. It is hard because like, you know, we're both single, but we're also like trying. So like it's hard.
And y'all still living together.
Because like, you know, he's free to go and do, you know, what he wants, and I guess I'm free to go and do what I want. But it's just very hard. I think us living together makes it hard.
Yeah, it makes it like twice as hard probably.
Yeah. And you know, ideally we probably, not ideally, but like if I had not had surgery around the time that our lease was ending, we would be living separately. So like me having surgery made it hard for me to move. And you know, he has supported me and been there, so I do appreciate that. Like he is genuinely like my friend, and I know that he cares about me. It's just like I don't know if the relationship will work. So,
and that's hard. I mean, talking from my experience with my situation, person, whatever you want to call him, because I can say he's a friend to me as well in certain aspects, and you can tell that they genuinely care, and then it's like, okay.
Sometimes they suck at showing it though.
Like no, they really 100%. I think when it comes to communication, at least for my person, communication is so hard, you know, and by their actions, they tell me that they genuinely care. But then when it comes down to talking and communicating it, and like he just shuts down, right? Or like, I think you had mentioned that like he'll start saying something and then like they'll retract.
Yeah. You know? It's like right when you get into the moment of like being vulnerable, that's when they stop.
Right. And it's like one, I, you know, as a friend, I would want you to open up with me, right? And I had to remind myself to be patient and like, you know, I can't push the person to open up. But then when you care and then you see that they care and you're like, then why can't we make this work?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part.
Yeah. But I mean, I do, you know, I realized it is more than that, you know, and I'm such a like pursuer of things. Like, we got to fix this problem, like, or I have a problem with this, so I need to tell you, you know, like, and so like, I know I need to like learn to like calm that down some, and it's hard. I be trying to talk myself through it. And I'd be like, don't do this, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And then I go, and then you saying it. I'm like, I gotta say it. You're like, and I don't have to. Right. Like, that's like, you know, like that's the part that I need to work on. And so, Yeah, so that's where I'm at currently. But I do want to backtrack a little bit because my situationship came back around again.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. While I was broken up with,
Yes. It's like they know. They like know when things are happening, and they're like,
yeah,
"Hey."
yeah, and it was during that period that I was like, trying to work on myself or whatever, and he came back around, and we would hang out, a few times.
Can we talk about the transformation that he went through? Because
Yeah,
I'm like, what? I'm still like, what happened? Because like I don't know
I
what's
think that's
going
what
on.
happened. He had like reached out to me and like asked me to call him or something, and then he told me that he was like, this was right after I got baptized, I think.
Okay.
Maybe, or like right before, or right after.
I think it was after.
And he had told me that he was like converting to Islam. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, because then he physically even transformed.
Oh yeah, physically transformed. Yeah, and it was so like, I'm on the phone hearing this. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? But then it also like in the same breath, it also like, well, I agree with this, but I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah,
I still do this and I still do that, and then I'm thinking like, then have you really converted then?
right.
And so like I just know he has a lot of figuring out to do, and I knew that like when he came, to me and started telling me that, I'm like, you still,
you still don't even know.
Yeah. Like you still trying to just figure out life and
trying
to do it in so many different ways. And if that's how you got to do it, I guess that's how you do it. But like, I just didn't want to be drugged into that. And so we just, we would go out, and like, I think you were out with us a few times.
I was third wheeling, y'all.
You were not third wheeling.
I was third wheeling.
But it was like he came back like with the intent to be a friend.
Right.
But then was like,
but he was doing everything that wasn't a friend though.
Right. Like, why are you trying to like push up on me, basically?
Yeah.
But without pushing up on me,
right.
And so, and then I would call you out on it, and then it's like, I did that. What? I don't remember doing that.
And then I was like, oh no, we went live. I have it recorded, bro. Like, trust me, I can send you the screenshots.
Literally, like, what are you doing? And so like I still knew like he has way too much work to do, like personally, for us to ever be
even be on the same page.
Yeah. And so I was like, from the get-go, I told him like, you want to be my friend, you have to show it, like you have to prove it. I'm not gonna be reaching out to you. You are cool to reach out to me, like whether we talk or not is gonna be completely up to you. And that's how I was. And he would make comments here and there about like, you don't ever talk to me and all that stuff, and I'm like, have you talked to me? Like I kept like I told you, like I'm not putting in the effort that I was putting in before. So like if you really value me as a person, as he kept saying, realize that I was the person that he need. I don't remember what he said, but like realize like who was really for him, and like he wanted to be around those people. It was something like that. Like he realized who was really for him.
He needed people around him that supported him or something.
Yeah. And so I told him, I'm like, I can't be who I was for you before. Because you aren't a friend to me. So like you need to show and prove.
Right.
And so as long as you show and prove, I will react to what you do. So
right, the input you're putting, you're going to receive the same effort.
If you're engaged, I'll be engaged.
Right.
If you're disengaged, I'm disengaged.
Right.
Like I need to see from you that you serious. Because I'm not playing with you no more.
It's ended.
Yeah, and so he was way more engaged. Like messaging me a lot. Like trying to hang out with me, even calling me. Like he was way more engaged, trying to like actually be my friend. It sounded like, or it seemed like. But then every once in a while I would still see those things, and I'm like, there it is. There's classic, whatever your name is.
Classic Bob.
Like, still doing that stuff. And so I was always a little hesitant because of that. Like, I wasn't looking to pursue a relationship, but like, if you want to be my friend, then be my friend.
And not like,
and like be an actual friend.
Right. And not like being in between of anything.
Yeah.
Like be an actual friend.
And I would tell him all the time, like, when you are friends with somebody, like, you don't make plans with them and cancel, or you don't like say you're coming and then flake out on them. Like, you know, like, you don't do that. Like, if that's how you treat,
and you also don't touch their laps or caress their faces. Okay? When you guys are just friends.
Right. Like, why do they do that? Like, and then they would love to say, but we just friends, but we just friends.
Right.
Like we the crazy ones.
Right. Like, clearly, no.
Clearly, you're not trying. You know, like, so I always felt like he was trying to do a little bit more than like what he was saying. But he also wouldn't be, you know, clear or direct about that either. And I would like explicitly ask, you know, but somehow he would like skate around the question, or like, you know, talk and then not really say nothing, you know, like talk for 30 minutes and I'm listening. You ain't really saying shit. So yeah, that happened. And then on my birthday, this year on my birthday, he reached out to me, said happy birthday, and then asked me basically to do something.
Yes.
And asked me if I was hungry or something. And I said, sure. Like, I wasn't planning to do anything else.
Oh, wait. Can we talk about the voicemail?
Oh, right. But we not there yet.
No, but the birthday voicemail.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what did he say?
Happy birthday. And then he said something else, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what he said. But yeah, he called me and left me a voicemail because we were at the sauna place.
Because that's where it started.
Yeah. And he left me a voicemail. I don't remember what it said, but
he was singing or something.
Maybe.
I can't remember.
And then he asked me, I had like sent him a text and said, hey, thanks for telling me happy birthday. And then he asked me to do something and asked me if I was hungry or whatever. I said sure, because I had nothing else planned for that day. And so then he was like, let's meet at this restaurant, and sent me the address or whatever. And I was like, okay. Still hesitant because, you know, he has a history of flaking and doing...
And showing up late.
Right. I think that's why I was hesitating, because I'm like, he will show up very late.
Yes.
And I will be pissed.
But it's not even like 30 minutes late. No, this dude will show up hours late. Yeah. To something that he'll probably organize still.
Literally. So I was like, he gonna be late and I'm gonna be mad if I'm sitting there on my birthday waiting. You know, like, that's when I'd rather sit at home. Right. So I was like stalling a little bit. I waited like 30 minutes, maybe even a little longer before I left. And so then I'm driving there. At this point, I'm like 10 minutes away. And he calls me. And background sounded kind of weird, but I was like, okay. He was like, hey, are you there yet? And I said, no, I'm like 10 minutes away. And then he didn't really say nothing. And so I'm like,
you're like, this sounds fishy.
Yeah. So I was like, you obviously gonna make me say it. So are you there? And basically no, and I'm not coming. I don't remember it wasn't in a mean way, but I don't remember what the excuse was. I think I honestly wasn't even listening.
After the no, I'll probably like the no, I'm not showing
right,
up. Right,
like you planned this. Right. You invited me. Literally just told me where to meet you.
Right.
Like, it's not like we planned this early in the day or even like weeks ago. You know, like you just sent me the address.
Like an hour ago.
Like 30 minutes ago you sent me the address. Yeah. And so he wasn't coming or whatever, and it wasn't even like a I'm sorry type of thing. It's just like, I'm not coming, or I can't come or something like that. And I was just like, okay. And I hung up the phone. And then I just didn't plan on talking to him ever because you don't stand me up. You don't stand nobody up on their birthday. Like that's so.
Especially if you just planned it an hour ago. Like an hour ago, you should have known if you were gonna make it or not.
Right.
You know.
So I did not say do something with me on my birthday. Like, hey, you want to do? I did not do anything. This was all unprompted.
Right.
I think that's the part that pissed me off. Is like you didn't even have to do this.
Right.
And it's my birthday, and you claim you want to be a good friend to me, and our history, all of it. It was all of it that just kind of like was enough for me. And so I was like, I really don't plan on talking to him ever again, honestly. Because God is trying to tell me, leave this man alone. And so then maybe like a week or two later, I get a voicemail.
It was like 2 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah, I got a voicemail, and we talked about this on our live. But I got a voicemail from him. It was like 3:00 in the morning. And it said, what did it say? I'm sorry, like 50 million times.
50 million, bro. When she sent me the voicemail because she's like, once again, she needs a third, she needs witnesses, okay? Because if not, he's going to gaslight her.
Yeah.
So I kid you not, 50 million times, I'm sorry. And it sounded like in different languages too. Like,
like the translation couldn't even pick up on it.
I'm like, bro, what is going on? Once again, he is the man that says a lot but doesn't say much at the same time.
Yeah, so his voicemail was full of that, like, just I'm sorry repeatedly, and like, I really just need you to have a conversation with me. I really just need you to be open to have a conversation with me, blah 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 blah,
repeating the same thing.
I'm sorry. And so then I sat on it for like most of the day, and I was like, damn, it's probably gonna bother me if I don't at least hear what he got to say.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't plan on like having a conversation with him after that, but I was just like, I'll at least hear it because I know it probably will eat at me. And so I called him, and I was like, hey, I got your voicemail. So I was just calling to hear what you had to say. And then he goes into what he goes into, one of his stories, talking a lot and not really getting to anything, and tells me about how he went to a concert the night before or whatever, and the night before he called me. And, he had went out for drinks after, and then he was driving home and got pulled over for something, and then he had a open pint in his passenger seat, like just dumb stuff. And
he probably told you what kind of pint, that it was whiskey, this
like,
brand,
just dumb stuff I don't even care about. And I'm just like, why are you even telling me this? So then in my head, I'm just like, okay, maybe it's a point to this. Let me just hear the story out. So then he told me about the cop that pulled him over, and he was white, and the cop was like aggressive or whatever, and I don't know, some other stuff. And then he's like, and then the cop just let me go, and I'm just like,
okay.
That's very unlikely, but okay. He said the cop just told him to get home safe or whatever. I'm like, okay, what's the point of telling me that? And he was like, then I was just driving home, and I was just like, I realized that every once in a while I get in situations that make me realize like all the effed up stuff that I've done. And so I was like, okay. And that was pretty much it.
But he didn't take accountability though. And that's what sucks.
Didn't just say I was effed up to you. Mm-hmm. I should have never stood you up on your birthday because I was trying to be your friend, and that's not what a friend. Like, he never takes. You're right, none, no accountability whatsoever. And so then he tried to like have small talk with me, and then he was like that was in the story, and I said okay. And then he tried to ask me like, what are you doing? And I was just like, I'm not finna have small talk with you. Right. I just called you to hear you out. I heard you. That's it. And then I hung up from him, and I have not talked to him since, and I do not plan to talk to him. So, yeah, I think that door is closed.
Well, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. And so, I'm, in the situationship I am in now, which is very similar to yours, like where you dated and then now you're not dating, but dating.
I mean, I'm not dating him. I mean, I don't know. We dated for oh my God, like almost the same timeline. Mm-hmm. We were dated for like almost a year. We were getting into fights. Mm-hmm. And then, but he broke up with me super bogus though.
What you do?
It was you don't remember? It was super cool. Oh no, because I didn't met you.
I didn't know you. Yeah. Well, I did know you. I knew you had like just broken up with somebody.
So I went to Mexico. I went to Mexico with Sandra. We were already having trust issues. Like there was times where he would go through my phone, and like it was really bad. And then I'm also like, why did I let him go through my phone? But when
you just handed it over.
Yeah, like he was like, and then I was just like, but I think I was just mad, and I was like, here, so you can see that I'm not talking to no other dudes, because in his mind I was talking to like a million guys. Because he even like criticized my clothing at one point. I remember that really pissed me off. But point is, I was going to Mexico with Sandra, and like this is how toxic it was. Like I was afraid to tell him.
Oh, that you were going to Mexico?
Wait, no, that I was going with Sandra.
Oh, why?
Because he didn't like her at that time. Oh. He didn't like her at that time.
Oh, that's hard. He don't like one of your closest friends.
Well, he didn't like a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But the reason he didn't like Sandra was because we went out once and I invited him. So I'm like, so you can see that I'm not like just talking to all these dudes. So
let me prove to you that I'm not cheating.
Right. So he was the only guy that went. And he knew Sandra was in a relationship at that time. So it was like a baile, like there was music. And this guy asked Sandra to dance. Mm-hmm. And Sandra danced with him. And he looked at me and he's like, what did he tell me? He's like, show me who your friends are and it'll tell me who you are, or something like that.
So because she danced with somebody and she's in a situation, that means that you will?
Right.
And so what if I do?
Right. So we had a whole conversation, and like he, like, that was such a bad night. He like got mad at me. He broke up with me then and there. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why are you acting this way? Mm-hmm. Like, we're all the way in Juliet, bro. Like, I drove here and you're acting this way.
Oh, he broke up with you at the place?
Yes. Oh, no. Oh, so this is one of the breakups. This is one of them. Like, okay? This is one of them. And we got into it. And then he was like so drunk that he like had a wallet and he was showing me pictures of like his nieces and nephews, and he's crying, and he like, I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I'm like, did I open a door that I like did not know that I opened? Yeah. You know, and then he was like, leave me alone. I'm going to order an Uber. I'm going to leave. And I said, bro, you came here with me. We're in Juliet. We can all just go. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll just all leave. And he was being like dramatic. Point is, I said, fine, F you, I'm leaving. So I told my girls, we're leaving. Mm-hmm. So we started walking, okay? We are walking to the parking lot. Yeah. He's running behind me, okay? He is running behind me.
Why can I picture it? I can picture it.
He's running behind me. He's like, so you just gonna leave me there? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you told me to leave you there.
That happened to me before. Not a situationship, but that happened to me. Somebody told me to leave, and then I actually leave, and then you calling me mad that I left.
So I'm like, yes, I'm leaving. Okay, no, it gets worse, okay? Yeah. We all get in the car. We're driving back. We're driving back to the city. We get off of 55, and we're getting off on Pulaski, okay? So we're getting towards Pulaski, and I think Archer. Mm-hmm. And he lives by there. So tell me why I'm at a red light. And we're arguing back and forth. He's like, just leave me here. Leave me here at the gas station. Blah, blah, blah.
Wait, your friend's in the car the whole time?
Yes. And he's in the passenger seat. Yes. So then we finally get to the red light because we're arguing back and forth. We get to the red light. He opens the car and jumps out. And he just starts running home. I don't make this stuff up, bro. Wait, it gets worse.
He didn't even jump out and be like, I'm finna go home. He just jumped out and started running home.
Opened the door and left. And that was embarrassing.
Could you imagine what that looked like to other cars? And then if I'm your friend in the back seat. It couldn't be me. Thank God I was not there. I would have laughed so damn hard. I'm sorry.
I was so embarrassed. I was like,
I know you would have been hurting, but I would have laughed so hard.
I wasn't hurting. I was more embarrassed because at that point we were already in too many like arguments, right? I laugh about it now. Oh my God.
Tell about the car and start running
I'm
home.
sorry. And to that person, if you hear this is what I remember. Okay, if you want to come and get clarity, you can come give me clarity. But that's how I remember it.
I mean, you have witnesses.
Okay,
Your friends
so
are in the car.
So that I do a U-turn. I think.
Well, that's awkward. I can't imagine being the person in the back seat.
So then I do a U-turn. I drop off one of my friends, and then my other friend, she looks at me, and I was like, I'm kind of hungry, bro. Do you want to get tacos? And she was like, yeah, let's go get tacos. So we went, and it was me, her, and then her.
Wait, y'all didn't talk about what just happened?
Wait. So then it's me, her, and her boyfriend, right? The one that this dude was mad about, right? That she was dancing, right? So then we go to Atotonilco, right in front of Twisted. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're talking about what just happened, you know, because she's telling him.
Well, was it like silent in the car up until then? Like y'all didn't talk about it in the car?
Yeah, it was silent. And then we finally talked about it there. I think because I was still processing.
Everybody's processing. That's awkward.
So then we start talking about it because she's telling him. And I'm like, you know, venting. Like, I'm like, bro, like, this just happened. Wait, so then he calls me and he's texting me. He's like, where are you? I was like, bro, I'm eating. Like, leave me alone.
Oh, wait, he called you after he ran out of the car?
Yes. So then he's like, I need to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, eating my tacos, bro. So
I'm sorry. I am literally trying to picture it.
And like, this is when I realized that, like, I was like, man, I'm so messed up in this situation. Like, I was like, I need, like, that's when I realized I don't have healthy relationships in my environment. He shows up to Totonilco, okay? He shows up in his PJs, okay?
This gets better.
He shows up in
He's doing this in public, so there's witnesses.
He shows up in his PJs and he's like, can we go talk? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's go talk. So then we go
talk about what? That he just ran out the car.
So then we go outside and we talk. And, you know, me, you know, being delusional, like, he apologized, yes. And then we're like, you know, I said, okay. And, like, we kissed, we made out, and, like, everything was fine. That's what That's what I really realized. Like, I look back now and I'm like, bro, like, what were you thinking? You know, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. But the one time he actually broke up with me and it really ended, he had dropped me off at the airport. And I said, okay, like, I'll see you. It was only the weekend. I was like, I'll see you Monday or whatever. Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember. I get to the airport in Mexico and I say, hey, I just landed, but just letting you know, I really don't get signal in my small town. Mm-hmm. So if I do talk to you, like, it'll be short. Like, I just want to let you know. So we try to get Wi-Fi over there and I'm trying to connect. And the times that I do get it, I'll text them, hey, how are you? You know? Mm-hmm. And then it comes to Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember. We're at the airport. And I'm trying to call him because I'm going to see if he's going to pick me up. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm calling. Like, I'm blocked. Right.
Oh, shit.
I'm calling. I'm blocked.
He know how to do it, don't he?
I'm like, so now I'm like, what is going on? So then, like, Sandra's looking at me. She's like, are you okay? Because I was about to cry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm blocked,
to
bro.
be, like, blocked from your boyfriend, like, I would cry, too.
I was like, bro, I don't know what's going on. So then she's like, don't worry about it. She's like, her boyfriend, she's like, he'll pick us up and blah, blah. And I was like, bro, that's not the point. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like I'm blocked.
This man blocked me.
Right. So then at that point I had Google Voice because of my job. Mm-hmm. So my toxic self.
Call him on Google Voice, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And he picks up. Yep. And then I'm like, hey. And then he realizes it's me, so he hangs up. So then I'm like, what is, like, I'm confused. Like, I'm like, what is going on? So then I come back. This is how toxic. Like, I was so messed up. I go to his house. Maybe like 2 days or whatever after. And I knock on the door, and then I think his mom opens. And then I was like, hey, is he here? Like, I haven't talked to him. Like, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, oh, he's not with you? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, okay. I thought he was with you because he left not too long ago. And I'm like, oh, no, he's not with me. I said, okay. She's
clearly
like,
he's not with me. Right. I'm right here.
So then she was like, do you want to come in and wait for him? And I said, no. Like, in my head, I was like, that's too toxic. Like, I was like, no, like, it's fine. I was like, I'll just go home. And then after like a week or two, he finally messages me.
After a week or two?
Yeah, I can't remember. Like, the dates are such a blur, you know? Wow. And I think he finally reaches out, or he finally answers me. I don't remember. But point is, we get in communication, and he tells me, he's like, well, basically telling me that the last argument that we had, I had said, if you're ever going to break up with me, just do it and, like, don't tell me or something, which is why he blocked me. And he's like, you should have known that I broke up with you. And I'm like, one, I was probably heated in an argument. Two, you do not do that to somebody.
He's like, bet. Let me say that.
You know, and I'm like, bro, don't ever, like. So then I had asked for clarity. I'm like, why did you break up with me? Like, you're not giving me any info. Like, what is going on? So he told me that he broke up with me because I don't know if it was like an epiphany while I was in Mexico or what, but he said, one, like, you were in Mexico, you weren't messaging me, you weren't communicating with me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I didn't have signal. He said, oh, but when you and I were together at my house or something, your mom called you. How does she have signal? I was like, bro, like, she has Wi-Fi. Like, I don't know how it's explained to you, bro.
Yeah.
So he said that, so that, and because I want kids, I want to get married, and he doesn't. So he's like, I just feel like it was easier to end things now versus we're 5 years in and like this conversation comes up again. I said, okay, that I understand. That I completely understand. I said, great, whatever. We ended it. He reaches out for my birthday, and I think he says like, happy birthday, and he wants to like see me for my birthday. And I'm just like, what's with the birthdays? Now that I think about it, like,
it's the birthdays and when they find out you single again,
right?
Or when they found out you dating somebody, because I get that too. Like when they reach out more when you're dating somebody.
So yeah, I want to say I did see him, and he got me like a cupcake. And then March, April, we started talking more. And I think that's like during that summer, it kind of got like a little blurry. Because we started to like make out and stuff like that. And then when I would bring up the topic, like, okay, are we going to try this? Are we not? Like, he wouldn't give me an answer. So I think to kind of like put a barrier, like a wall, I was just like, whatever. I'm just going to go with it. Like, it is what it is. But I think I prayed a lot on it. And then he told me, I mean, months passed, years. Like, me and him broke up like 7 years ago, bro. And we went months, years, like going on and off, like back and forth, like in this whole situation. And then he told me that he got offered a job in Texas. And then that's when I'm like, okay, God, like, is this it?
Yeah.
Like, if he takes that job, then you're telling me that it's done. Like, this is it, it's done. So then I want to say like a week or 2 weeks after, he tells me he accepted the job and that he's moving out there. So I'm like, okay, God, I'm just going to let it go. If he comes back, then we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So he moves out to Texas, but it was during COVID. So he spent most of his time here in Chicago. He was rarely in Texas. And I think that's when it really got blurry, because we were spending more time, because it was COVID. Like, nobody was going out. Yeah. We were just seeing each other. And I think that's when it got really blurry. And then he went to Texas, and then he invited me, and then you went to Texas with us at one point. And
yeah, I was definitely third wheeling.
I mean, I got really...
Me and Wendy were third wheeling.
I think it got really blurry. And then I think I was just... Then he went to Mexico with me. He met my family, and we were holding hands over there, so everybody was asking questions. And I think that's when I was like, bro.
Yeah, because y'all were literally acting like a couple.
I'm like, this is way too blurry, and I need to like set these boundaries at this point because I'm pushing to 30 and I'm not trying to stay in a situation right for this. Yeah, it's been this long and nothing's happening, so let me just put an end to it. So I straight up told him, I was like, hey, we gonna do this, we not, like, what are your thoughts on marriage, what are your thoughts on kids, did it change, did it not change, like, what are we doing? And he's like, I don't want kids. He's like, I did think about marriage with you. He said, but I don't want kids. And I said, okay,
that's big.
I said, okay, so then this is it. And he's like, you sure? And I said, yes.
What do you mean, am I sure?
I'm positive.
I'm sure I want kids and you don't.
Like, I was like, I'm very positive that this is gonna be it. So then we ended it. We didn't talk for about a month, and then he reached out and he was like, hey.
They always reach out. Our problem is that we don't have the willpower to stick to our boundaries because they always reach out. They always do.
Right.
Like, I know that my old situationship will reach out at some point.
Right.
And I hope that I stick to my boundaries.
Right. And it's hard, especially when you care about the person, you know. But that's where we're at now.
But we got some work to do. That's
and then
that was rough, girl.
Bumped into him at the gym. I'm like, bro.
Yeah. Bumped into him.
I'm like, can't you find another gym?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like, we be praying about stuff and we be talking about like how we talk to God about this stuff, because like all of this I was praying the whole time too, right? And like I feel like we were getting the answers, we just were looking for different answers. Yeah. And so we definitely have stayed in things longer than
we should have.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say it for me. Like, that, we broke up 7 years ago, and we're still in, like, I was still in this hot mess, you know?
Yeah, and the span of my situationship was years. Like, almost 5 years of that.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, we take it upon ourselves to make ourselves suffer.
Yeah, we just got a lot of work to do.
Right.
But it comes from somewhere. Like, we learned this. Yeah. And so now we're trying to unlearn it.
Unlearn it and break those chains, you know?
Yeah. And it's hard, dude. It's so hard. And so we both have, I feel like, have just struggled with men. and like, even the ones that, like, we aren't, like, super interested in, I feel like we still struggle with them. You know, like, even the ones that we, like, you know, maybe go out with one time, or, you know, just the ones we're talking to. I just feel like we've been toxic with.
And I think that we attract that, you know, and like that's the hard part, because I
think we go looking for it.
Right. Like when my neighbor got engaged, and then when she got married, and I was a bridesmaid for that, like, I just kept thinking, like, why can't I find somebody, you know? Like, why, like, when is it my turn, kind of, you know? And it was hard. It was hard for me to sit down and be like, bro, it's you. Yeah. Like, it's you, you know? And then I'm like, even if you think you're doing the work and you're getting better, and, you know, you're doing the best that you can, and you're going through your journey and stuff, like, you might not still be done.
No. You know? That's the thing. I think that I had gotten to a point where I, like, okay, I think I'm good, you know, and then I got in that relationship and it just showed me all the stuff that is not good.
Right.
Yeah.
And healing takes a long time. And then you start losing people. You start realizing who should be there and who should not be in your circle. And then you kind of get lonely.
Yeah, lonely is a big thing. And I have so many, I get so many, like, anxious thoughts and intrusive thoughts about, like, being with somebody and dating. And so, like, I really need to, like, learn to work through those thoughts. And I didn't realize, I knew, you know, how much, like, my trauma has, like, impacted me, but I didn't know, like, how much it, like, shows up in my relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I really am trying to do the work. And I think that I hope that that what we're doing now works for whatever it needs to work for, whether we end up together again, or whether we like really separate. But I think either way, we will both come out better because I do feel like even the fights we have now are healthier, you know.
Compared
And
to
so,
before.
yeah, compared to before, they would just get real nasty and just real ugly. And so, on both sides, and we would both hit below the belt. And so,
Yeah. And those arguments are like, sometimes when I think about some of the arguments that I even had, like, it like traumatizing. Like, it just brings back.
It is.
You know?
It is. And it would remind me. That's part of why I broke up with him, because our fights was getting so bad that I did not want it to reach a point that we could not come back from. And so it did. And then I just found myself doing stuff that I had never done before, And, I was talking to him the other night, like, this is the first time I really, like, feel like I've been in love with somebody, And it's the same for him. And I think that that's also some of the difficulty, too. It's because that puts you in a really vulnerable place to, like, be in love with somebody. And I don't really know how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard because I can say the same thing for this guy. I think he was the first guy I ever said, like, I love you too. And the first guy I took seriously and dated seriously, And it's hard. Because you're like, damn, I like actually care about you, bro.
Yeah, like I actually care about you.
Yes.
And like I have never cried so much and been so vulnerable. Even though I'm not as vulnerable as I could be, like I feel like I've been way more vulnerable than I ever have been, because I used to get like comments that I was like too hard, and like I would not let somebody in, and I would like I just was closed off. I didn't talk much, and like these are all the complaints that guys would give me. But I also was like, I ain't trying to do that right now.
Leave me alone. Like, just go to the bedroom.
So, but I still carry some of that where I just don't share, not the real stuff. I share what I feel like is safe, but not the true like feelings, the I don't feel important to you type of those type of feelings,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of work
that still needs
to do, but I am hopeful. And we are going to continue talking about our dating lives because they get very interesting.
Yes, I had a couple of dates I went to. They were not the greatest.
So we are going to be going on Instagram Live.
Every Thursday, hopefully.
Every Thursday. Yeah.
We've been going live sometimes, y'all. Y'all should watch us.
Go like our social media page, share it. It's
notification things on so you know when we go live.
Yeah, at MBS Pod on Instagram and on TikTok
and YouTube.
Yeah. So, we will be doing that. So if you want to talk about dating more, we want to hear some of other people's stories too. I don't have no crazy story like somebody jumping out the car, but my ex did tell me, he told himself that I cheated on him. So. But yeah, we want to like talk about that more with people.
Yes, and if you're listening to this and you want to clarify any of this, please do, because that is what I remember, and that is what some of my friends remember. Okay, so
yeah, and I think that would be interesting if we could have one of the guys that we talked about on here to talk about.
Yeah. And if it's you, I won't be here. If it's know, maybe Jamaica doesn't have to be here. I know that could be weird too.
Yeah. So so that's the status of our dating lives for the past like 7-8 years.
Damn.
So yeah, like everything we talked about happened over a span of years.
This is why Leo said we never dated.
Yeah, and we put it into a couple of hours, but yeah, we talked about like 8 years of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we haven't really dated. We've been in situationships
for a long time.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point, a situationship with like where you were like dating and then you become a situationship, or like, where you're friends and then you become a situationship. They are both very different.
They are.
Very different. And so, yeah.
Yeah, sorry for all the background noises and for this new look.
Oh, yeah, we are. We just didn't even acknowledge
I know. The people that are anxious are probably like...
We do have a different background.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not your dog. That's our dog. Barking.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. For this episode. Make sure you go like and listen to all of our other episodes too.
Yes, we have about 4 or 5 already.
Yeah, and share with somebody.
Yep. If it resonates, please share it. Maybe some of your friends resonate with it as well.
Yeah, and we will catch y'all next time.